Hello my fellow freedom builders and welcome back to the channel here on a Saturday. Now it is soon Christmas and I thought I would give you a couple of presents if you could use a little inspiration here for your own trading. Now what I did a week ago is I gave you some swing trading candidates in the oil sector. I'll just briefly go through them in a second so you can see how they have done the last week here. And from the exact same perspective, I'm giving you 8 new swing trading candidates. I've done this before, and I know that a lot of you have given me feedback that you actually make quite a lot of money on these. And of course, I am happy to hear that. Just remember, what I'm doing here is not any sort of financial advisory of you of any sort. This is simply just inspiration so that you can dig even further down into the companies to see which one you like. Now, I've also gotten some questions about my swing trading portfolio. You remember I've made a couple of videos about that. It started the 15th of September. I made a video at the 15th of October and then again in the middle of November. And of course, you'll get one here in the middle of December as well. I can promise you an interesting video there because, well, I have not really changed any positions, but the ones I've had has gone up completely insanely. But I'll get back to that in the video in the around the 15th of December here, so you can see that next week. All right, let's get straight into this. I should say that these 8 swing trading candidates, I have screened them from my normal technical analysis point of view, meaning they should be in a short-term uptrend, but I ended up with, I don't know, 50 or 60 candidates. So I have also briefly screened these candidates from some fundamental perspective, meaning that I have looked at the price to book. I didn't want that to be too high. I have looked at their debt, their leverage. I didn't want that to be too high as well. And I have wanted to see some companies actually with positive cash flow and a growing earnings per share. That said, these are quite small or micro cap companies, so they can be very volatile, and you should bear that in mind. So you shouldn't put all of your portfolio into any of these. So let's have a look at the stocks from last week, the oil stocks, and then we'll get into the 8 candidates quickly. Now here we have them, and as you know, I have my weekly chart, I have my daily chart, and these are mostly traded from a daily chart where I want some beginning uptrend and I do want some bounce on the 20 SMA. I want the RSI to be above 50. You know that if you have seen my videos. So we did have the Magellan here. We went in if we had taken the signal here. I did not enter any of these, I should say. But there have been a couple of dollars that you have been able to make here. If you entered the day after I made the video, should have made somewhere between $4 and $5% by now. That was a Magellan. Then we have the Enable Midstream Partners here. That one is sitting at a little loss here, maybe something about 2 or 3%. We have the Sunoco, I think it is pronounced, which is at somewhere around 5 or 6% ish up here. So you can see they're working quite nicely upwards. We have one here which is about a break even pretty much, and we have the Spark Resources, I think it is pronounced, which has also gone up quite let's see how that has fared, between 2 and 3%. So that is in about a week. And I know some of you are looking to these videos and these candidates and looking for something just to hold for a week or two. And those of you that have done that could have made 2 or 3% overall here in the last week. So let's get straight into the candidates. This will be a short video. I'll not explain much about the companies. You can do your own research there. So the first one is Sierra Metals, and normally I would save this for my Mining Monday video that come out every Monday, but this one just popped up on my screener today. So Sierra Metals, it has begun quite a quick trend upwards. You can see here from back in March and on until now, it is up 600%. which is quite insane. And you could easily argue that it might take a little breather here. But right now, it has gone sideways for some weeks here. This is what I call a sideways retracement. And then it seems to bounce here. We have the RSI at a very good level. We are in a green zone. If you've seen my other videos, then you know that my long-term trend, I usually look for some green zone here. This is a Canadian mining company. They have some mines in Peru and Mexico, but I'll not get into details with that. This is just a good technical setup, and on the fundamental part, they're actually not looking too bad. Then we have Global Ship Lease, and it kind of says it in the name what they are doing. But they have some, they have ownership of some chartering of some container ships, and what we can see here is that they have broken a very long downwards trend here. They have broken that here. They are actually bouncing nicely close to the 20 SMA. I could wish for a bounce a bit closer to the 20 SMA. But this will do, and you can see it breaks up in the RSI as well, stays nicely above the 50 line. So Global Ship Lease, try and dig a bit deeper into that. It is looking quite nicely. We have something, let's just have a look here. The CAI or CIA International, they have been in a very long sideways trend here if we're looking at this area. And you could argue that they are getting close to an earlier top here back from 17. But I must admit, I rarely look this far back for the top, because unless, of course, you're in an all-time high, you will always be able to look 2 or 3 or 5 or 10 years back to find some sort of earlier top that should be resistance. I would not, I don't care too much about this one, to be honest. What we can see on the daily chart is that it is bouncing nicely here on the 20 SMA, and right now with a couple of wicks on the candlesticks showing some resistance here or some support here at the 20 SMA. Now this company, they do some transport, finance, logistics, yeah, that is yet another of these transportation companies. I have seen that a lot of the in my sector analysis for my Danish subscribers, I have seen a lot of the maritime transportation stocks going up quite a lot in the industry rotation, so that this might be a reason for that as well. Then we have our fourth candidate here that you can look at, and that is from the cannabis sector. That is the harvest, health and recreation. And as you can see, this is actually what I do want to see if I'm looking at the longer term trends here, because what we can see is we've had a very long downward trend, but then we can see both on the tops and the bottoms, it starts to, first it slows down the speed with which it drops. You can see here we have the bottoms here, they are dropping heavily, then a bit less violently here, then almost flat, and then they start to grow. So right now we can see this distribution curve where it slowly slows down and then starts to move upwards, and that is where we are right now. It doesn't have the perfect setup here on the daily chart, I must admit, but it is bouncing nicely here off the 20 SMA, but then there in comes a lot of red days. So many of these are extremely illiquid, so you should be a bit careful with these, but it is an interesting candidate, however. All right, we are halfway through, and the next 4 is actually in the financial sector, which is, well, it's kind of interesting when you see a lot of the same industries and sectors popping up on your screen. Right here you can see Piper Sandler companies, very good uptrend. They are in the green zone on a weekly chart, even though that is not the most important here. If you're looking at earlier tops, then it has broken this earlier top back from 18, and yeah, well, back here there's not much to consider. Right now, just bouncing nicely on the 20 SMA, staying above the 50 line on the RSI, so I think this one has some potential. It is in the investment bank. They offer some research and advisory of different sorts. Then we have the Veritex here, And Veritex is also, they also have some banking products primarily to small and medium-sized companies. But as you can see, they took a big hit, as many companies did here in the spring due to the virus. And has been moving up nicely, bouncing nicely on the 20 SMA here. So they pretty much fulfill our very simple criteria here. What we can see, and what I'm looking a bit for, is my favorite setup, you could say. I usually say this to my subscribers, because what I am looking for is, and we are almost there, I'm looking for these triangles where we have this flat top, where we can see that the sellers are getting in and selling it down, 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 but the buyers are getting in quicker and quicker, meaning that they are seeing some value here. They're seeing some reason to buy. And if this one can take just a bit more up here, so I'm 100% certain that this level has been broken, then I think this one could easily move up in the $26 to $28 range here. You can do that. You can take this one and copy paste it, just Control C and Control V, and that gives you kind of an idea as to where this can move up towards the top of the channel. So that was another with banking products. Another one of this type is the QCR Holding, and as you can see, they are actually doing pretty much the same thing. They are in the uptrend here. In comes the sellers here around the 28, 29 point, and they are making this triangle formation. Now it is not completely clear here, but we can see the higher bottoms here. We can see the higher tops. I do like this even better when I see it on a weekly chart, but the daily chart will do. And if we can move up here in the beginning of next week, somewhere to, I don't know, 39.50, 40 maybe even, then I would say this formation has been completed, and I would be interested in taking a position. Also in the banking industry. The last one is also in the financial sector, but that is more of an investment company in some both some properties and some infrastructure that they buy and then lease back or get some rent in on them. If you're looking at this one, you can see that it has just barely begun its uptrend, but what we see is that they have the big dip here, then they start to slow out again. You can see the trend here starting slowly to turn. We can see after the big dip we actually starts to have higher bottoms here. And when we get this, I do like the price to be above the 200 SMA that comes down here. But when we get up here, closing in on the 20 SMA, with the RSI above the 50 line, and then a very good buying day, taking the price far away from the 20 SMA, that makes me very interested. I'm not looking at the moving averages over here, only here. This is for the overall big term trend. So yeah, I think this is about it. Where these are 8 candidates that you can take and you can have a look at, and you can dig a lot deeper into it. I have not done any research as of right now when it comes to the quality of the management, their latest earnings, and so on. I do like the trend for all of them in the overall earnings from year to year, but there could be some quarterly earnings or earning calls or expectations, estimates that has been adjusted, and I have done no research in that whatsoever. Most of these I only know on the broad scale what they are doing, some mining, some cannabis, some financials, but I have not researched any of their products in details. And as you'll see in my upcoming video next week with my 2-to-1 leveraged portfolio in these small micro cap stocks that I'm doing as a paper trade experiment, it can actually, at least in very trending markets as we are in right now, that can actually be a very good approach to have because the performance is quite good, and of the 20 stocks I have in that portfolio, I pretty much only know 1 or 2 of them a bit more in detail. So let's see next week, and let's hope that the performance keeps going as it has done up until right now, because that has been quite amazing. I know some of you that tried to mirror that portfolio, and a couple of you have written to me that you have made a small fortune, so I almost regret not putting my own real money in this, but that is how it goes. that is all for now. And of course, you will hear from me again Monday with the Mining Monday. And then we'll have this short-term swing trading portfolio in the middle of next week. That's all for now. I hope you'll have a very good weekend and take care of yourself and your money out there. Bye for now.